But you know, when the dust settles, you say, right, we have done something fantastic, and the whole nation of, you know, they respect that, and they're going to show that when we step off the plane, I would imagine.
Chris, good to see you again. To catch up on, obviously last time we spoke about actually qualifying for the Euros. If we spend the next period just talking about the Euros themselves, but just to catch up with you, are you still everything okay in this? I know things have been easing maybe a bit, but still been a long period, isn't it, in lockdown?
Yeah, our children have just, the schools our kids go to, they've just started, all the kids have just started going back. So yeah, that was an interesting conversation, you know, with the headmasters and the teachers to find out what was going on. And speaking to our local GPs and the medical people, so things are relaxing slowly, but I think they're expecting another spike, aren't they, in October? So we still got to be very, very careful. And, you know, we can't just go straight back to normality, although we're all looking forward to that. I'm missing it. We've still got to be a bit careful. So I think everybody's still on guard a little bit, which, you know, right, and they should be really.
Have you been able to get around to golfing, or is it still too early?
Well, yeah, no, Charlotte and I, we played last week. And just like a little course over our mum and dad's, where our mum and dad live, and it was a bit surreal really, because we haven't been out for so long, and it was, I know obviously now the new rule is you can play with one other person from that household. So it was nice. It was okay, a bit rusty, but we were meant to have a game today, but I've done something to my knee, unfortunately. I think I've done my meniscus, so I've got to see if that settles down in the next week or so before I start playing any golf. But I've been missing the golf. It's great, you know, if you've been an active sportsman most of your life, then you know you need a little interest that's still something to do with sport. And golf's, you know, most football players or managers or coaches play golf, and it is very addictive. So I have missed that, and I'm looking forward to getting back to it.
Well, if it was normal times now, we'd be looking forward to the Euros. But it's an opportunity to look back at 2016, and you know, something is still fresh in the mind, and so many Welsh fans Welsh people still talk about it. But we just go back before. I mean, there's no doubt what a fantastic journey it was, what a fantastic tournament it was for us. But I think it's important to emphasise it just didn't happen, did it? There's a lot of work that had gone in off the pitch, on the field, everything right from when you started. But the preparations for the tournament were first class, and I think one of the things that you had to get right, and I think you got that spot on, was to get the base for the team, because everybody was going to be there for so long. That had to be right, and I bet looking back now as well, you must think, you know, that was a fantastic decision to stay in that complex in Dinard.
Well, it took us, when traveling around France, and to look at different hotels, different training facilities, and we had to try and gauge, you know, we knew where the games were going to be. We had to try and gauge distances, of course, obviously, and the traveling and the hours, and also the period of time where we were going to be there, long time away from home, long time seeing the same faces. So we needed something that ticked as many boxes as, you know, as what we needed to really. And Dinard was, you know, as soon as we got there, we had to look around the hotel. The rooms themselves were lovely, not plush and not, you know, like a 5 or 6 or 7 star hotel, but really nice, clean, and enough for us, enough space. And the setting was obviously by the sea in Brittany, and it was somewhere where we could escape all the hustle and bustle of the tournament, albeit You know, if you went down into Dinard itself, it was obviously teeming with people. But where the hotel was, just cut into the cliff there, looking at the sea, it was perfect for us, and it was nice for the players. It was all, you know, everything's geared for the players, and rightly so. It was all about what do they need, what can we give them as much as we can that's going to get them in the best possible state of mind and the best physical, the best physically they can be and the best mentally they can be. So how many boxes can we tick here? And Dinard was absolutely perfect for us. And I think the players will tell you themselves, they enjoyed it there. There was enough for them to do in between the games and the training sessions. And I say in between the games and training sessions, and that was hardly time at all because it was absolutely 24/7. But we wanted to let them off the leash a little bit because the pressure was so much. And it was just enough for them to get away a little bit and, you know, just to go for a cup of coffee or an ice cream or a walk along the beach, get away from what was going on. Because if we weren't training on the pitch, we were in the classroom studying the games and ourselves and formations. And if we could just find that 1% from somewhere that maybe we'd need, you know, there was no stone left unturned. And then we needed to get them away from that for a few hours when we could, so they could escape, but not somewhere where there was going to be too much going on. So Dinard was absolutely perfect. The airport was right there. And I think we got that spot on, yeah.
I remember when I think you'd been over the staff, you took everybody was going to be working there over. I remember walking in the first time and just thinking, wow, you've got the feeling, the atmosphere, this is perfect. But it wasn't just that. I remember we went to Bordeaux, went to Toulouse, went to Lens. We drove, we flew, we got on a train. It was an airstrike, everything. But the big thing was you knew you'd gone to every stadium and every city, and you knew what to expect then when we were facing these matches in the group. So it wasn't just Dinard. You'd done your homework on actually the stadiums where we were going to be playing as well.
Yeah, we wanted to see, I just wanted to have a feel of the dressing rooms. I wanted to have a feel of the distance. We'd be traveling from the hotel to the stadium. And, you know, you were sat right next to me, sitting in the media box where we were going to do the media after the game. And before the game, we went through all those scenarios. So we weren't walking in anywhere blind. So I had a picture in my mind, right? That's where I'm going to be after the game when I'm addressing the media. This is the room I'll be sitting in. You know, we went through all of that. This is the distance, so I know how far the hotel to the airport, and this is the distance from the hotel to the stadium. You know, we did all those journeys. We had the hotels cook up the food for us, so we knew what the chefs we were dealing with. Or we took our own chefs, of course, but just in case. And it's all those things that maybe, you know, listen, everybody's of a different opinion, and some people think that that's maybe too much. But I looked at it and thought, what we don't need is a surprise. And what we don't need is something hitting us in the face that we never saw coming. Now, that can happen and it can be out of your own hands. But as much as we could, we wanted to be in control of that month or 6 weeks. We wanted to be in control of everything. And the only way to do that was get there months in advance, get into France, travel all around, and sample as much as we possibly could. And, you know, that's what we did. Like you rightly said, we took a lot of members of the staff to get a feel for it. And even, you know, I remember standing in the empty stadiums months before we were going to kick off. And there was atmosphere because we created that. You know, there was only probably 15 or 20 of us, the staff, standing in an empty stadium thinking about what was to come, and the atmosphere, you could feel it building amongst us. It was superb. It was excellent. And then when we finally got there, we knew where we were going. We knew the stadiums. We knew what the dressing rooms looked like. We knew everything. And that was a huge, huge help.
In terms of, obviously with the preparation then, we knew the stadiums, we knew where we were playing. I mean, Dinard was, training facilities were fantastic. The pitch, the hotel, the media facilities were great. And then the draw, I have to take your mind back to the draw, because we'd all gone over. There was yourself, Jonathan Ford, Mark Evans, several ideas, the president, Amanda, Osh was with us. And you gave us a pep talk before the draw that if England came out, nobody to react So we all sat there dead faced, and you were the only one who reacted. We all sat there not showing any emotion, and after telling us not to, you were the only one, and the camera was on you. And when England came out, and
I know. I couldn't help it. I knew the camera was going to be on me, and it was just automatic. The emotion came out. It was, I can't tell you what I was thinking, because it was just those moments of like, don't smile, don't frown, don't do anything. And my eyebrows just took the life of themselves for 10 seconds. Of course, I made that face, and afterwards you lot absolutely slaughtered me. You said you told us not to do anything, and there's you sitting there, and I give the game away. But
Yeah.
I couldn't help it. That was just it was just a natural reaction, you know.
In terms of the build up, then obviously immediately we played the Netherlands before Christmas. We played Northern Ireland, I think, the Ukraine, and Sweden. And you'd taken obviously the build up. There was a fantastic build up, massive interest, wasn't it? And you felt the whole country, where there was no level of, I think, the attitude was that yes, to go there to perform, to do well, but to also enjoy it, because we'd waited so long for it. And the level of expectation that everybody was behind Wales and wanted us to succeed, where there was different countries that have maybe more pressure in terms of what they haven't achieved in the past. But I just, we went to Portugal. You had that week's training there as well, which was great. But at the end of it, you had a strong nucleus of a squad. You still had some difficult decisions to make. And I'm thinking about players like Emir Hughes, were they in, were they out? How difficult was that for you, having to tell players they weren't going to the Euros?
Well, I had in my head, the squad in my head, and I knew that building up to that date where we were going to name the squad. Things can change because of injury, of course. But I kind of had the squad in my head, and even if somebody had a bad week in Portugal training-wise, or in the behind closed doors game, that can happen. I wasn't going to change my mind on that, really. Lo and behold, we have that game, and Tom Lawrence gets injured, and it's quite a bad one, and so we lost Tom anyway, which was a shame for him and a shame for us. But I had the squad in my head, so the conversations with the players that I weren't bringing, because I've been a player myself, and to get pulled into a room and told I wasn't going to be involved in the tournament, would have been heartbreaking. So I knew what the players I was addressing, I knew they were going to be heartbroken. I was very mindful of that, and I was very mindful how I did it, where I did it, where I broke the news to them. I did it really on the last day of the camp in Portugal, before we came home, because it was the only day that was right, because we were training every day up to that, and I didn't want any excuses in training that the tempo would drop because 3 or 4 of the guys knew they weren't coming, and of course mentally they're not going to be in the session, which affects everybody. So I left it till the last day, because the training was important. Obviously the tempo and we had games building up to the tournament, and everybody was making a fuss. Oh, Wales haven't won. They drew with Northern Ireland. They lost to Holland. They've lost to Sweden. They lost to Ukraine. The bubbles burst and all. And I thought, you people have got no idea what you're talking about. These games, of course, they matter. You're playing for Wales, and it always matters. It's all about how we walk into that tournament in that first game, and where we are mentally and physically. That's all it's about. Whatever's happened before then doesn't matter. You've got teams going into the tournament, they haven't lost for 10 games, and they don't even get through those first 3 games. And you've seen it time and time again. So I tried to separate the players from anything that was being said, that we weren't playing very well and this, and we were poor in Sweden. I knew we were going to be poor in Sweden, because the guys have had 2 or 3 weeks break. I wanted them to get a holiday. I wanted them to get away and have some downtime. They had a long season, and then we were going to start them again. Listen, we've got to be honest. A lot of the players really knew they were going to be in the squad, because they'd done so much for us to get there. They've been absolutely superb, and they were no-brainers. But there was some names that we were like, okay, there was conversations. So when I finally made my mind up, yeah, the players I spoke to on the last day in Portugal was really tough conversations. And they'll probably never forgive me for that, you know, because they've missed out on a tournament. And I can understand that. But I can't say, you know, I was bothered by it because it was part of my job and I had to pick a squad that I believed that was going to be the best squad for us. And I did it as best I could. I did it as respectfully as I could to the players who didn't come with us. And, you know, I felt sorry for them. Even to this day, I felt sorry for them that they didn't experience what everybody else did.
You've always said that, you know, you had great staff around you, and great credit in that period as well to the medical team, because you had players like Joe Ledley who were injured, who looked as if they weren't going to play in the tournament, but they worked with them and got them through all of that, didn't they? It was fantastic, really, to get some of the injured players back.
Yeah, I think as well with Joe Ledley, everybody speaks, and rightly so, you're going to speak about Baylor and Rambo and Joe Allen, Ash Williams and Big Wayne Ennis. Of course, spine of the team, magnificent. And, you know, there's no brain. Everybody that mentions these players, and rightly so, absolutely. You know, I mentioned them myself. Joe Ledley, with Joe, it wasn't just, he had loads of experience as an international player anyway. And he was a good player, lovely left foot, knew how to play midfield. You know, he could play in a number of positions, Joe. It was his personality as well. And we absolutely had to have Joe in that tournament. We had to have Joe in the hotel. We had to have Joe on the plane, on the bus. He needed to be in that environment. We needed Joe Ledley in that environment. So when I was speaking to the medical team, I remember when I found out about his injury, and I thought, oh, bloody hell. You know, we really didn't need that when we got it. We needed Joe to be with us, or I needed Joe in that, right in the middle of it all, because of his personality, as well as his playing capabilities. We know he's a good player. I just wanted his personality there because I know he was infectious. Everybody respected him and liked him. He's funny, very positive. And so when the news came that he had a problem and he was a doubt, I thought, well, you know, we can't. He can't be a doubt. He's got to be there. I need him to be there, you know. Speaking to the medical team, and they were like, no, he's, you know, at a push, if he does everything to the letter of the law and lives 100% right, does everything he needs to do, and Joe did that, and he went beyond that, and they said that he'll be okay probably for the second game, maybe third game, and I thought he's definitely worth a gamble, because all the time spent off the pitch when we were around the hotels, then we'd have Joe and his personality, and he was very important. And then when we saw how hard he was working to get fit, of course, it was, you know, it was a win-win for us then. We had his personality, and everybody was looking at him thinking, he's desperate. This is how important this is. This guy here, he's doing so much because he wants to be a part of it. So it was a win-win. And once, yeah, on the back of Portugal, you know, I knew, you know, the training camp in Portugal, looking at him, I knew he was going to be with us, even if I had him for the third game, which is the Russia game, because he had something to say. He had something to say on and off the pitch, something to offer. So he was well worth the gamble, Joe.
I remember that first week in Dinant where we'd gone there. Obviously, the most important thing was on the pitch, but we'd gone there as ambassadors. We'd integrated with the local community. We'd shown about our history, our culture, our language, that we were different. We were Wales. We were proud, and you know, got those hundreds of school children came to watch us train, and everything had gone so well. And then the day before the game, remember that everything, and fantastic. It was only 10 minutes from the hotel to the airport. Got on the plane, flew into Bordeaux, and then we landed on the wrong runway. Remember that the night before, and we were stuck on the runway, which is completely out of our control. And then they say that was that? I mean, it's been said. Was that the period when Wayne's maybe back played up, and of course he missed the game then against Slovakia? But we stuck on that runway.
He's 6'6", Wayne. He's a big man, you know, and that couldn't have helped him. It had to contribute to the problem that he had. And when the medical team came to speak with me and said, "Look, I don't think you're going to get Wayne tomorrow," or he woke up the next morning and he was in even bigger trouble, and he was like, he's not going to make it. And it was like, well, he has to make it. And he's like, no, you can't. And you know, if he's saying, Wayne Hennessy saying, I can't, in a game like that, then you just can't. There's no 50-50. You just can't. So we had to leave him. And, it was devastating for Wayne. I remember thinking about Wayne at the time, thinking, he hadn't missed a game and he's played all the minutes. He came through all the tough stuff as well at the start when we were losing and the criticism. And, he absolutely deserves as much as anybody to be on the pitch, and he just couldn't do it. His back wouldn't allow him to do it. He had a spasm, and the doctor, there's nothing we could do to release it. And he missed the game, Big Wayne, and it was such a shame for him, And then Danny, he's, mind you, if there was ever a character that was going to handle that situation like he'd been there 100 times, it was Danny. And he played the game. He was outstanding. His kicking, his decision making, his presence in the dressing room, no nerves in the game, nothing fazed him. He was absolutely outstanding, Danny, and I was pleased for him. He's fantastic then for everybody going forward. That because Wayne's not going to last forever, obviously, and then you've got Danny who plays like that. So, but it was just such a shame for Wayne. But I think it was a consequence of stuck on that aeroplane, and like you say, it's completely out of our hands that we landed on the wrong runway.
Which we were late for the press conference. Nothing new there, I suppose, but we were late for. But it had a knock-on effect. Got back to the hotel, but in terms of that sense of footballers, managers, you've seen it, you've done it, and does an occasion get to you or whatever? But this was such a big thing, something new. That morning of the day of the game when we got up, and there were thousands of Welsh fans already outside the hotel. And when we left the hotel, went to that stadium, I mean, what was going through your mind then? What were you thinking as the manager?
As much as you try to separate it all, you're there, you're representing Wales, it's the biggest honour you can have. You can't see the concrete for red shirts. And as much as you think you're going to separate it all, you don't. You can't. Well, I couldn't. I got completely washed up with it. And getting on the bus, I was screaming back at our fans, and clenching my fists, and everybody was saying, come on. And I was just completely taken with it. I couldn't help the emotion involved. And it's amazing to see that you're away from home in someone else's country, but you look around and all you can see is your own countrymen and women and children, and you can see on the faces what it means to them to actually be there, and that feeling is indescribable, and you never ever forget that, And getting into the stadium, I remember thinking, when we were walking into the stadium, when we had to wear the placards, didn't we? Because otherwise you can't get anywhere.
Yeah.
There's no access if you haven't got them on. It doesn't matter who you are. I just remember looking round, and all the players who had gone in the dressing room, and I was just outside. I might have just had a chat with you, IG, or Mark Evans. And I just came down and looked. I didn't go onto the pitch. I just looked out onto the pitch. And walking back to the dressing room, it was like, boom. It was like, we're here. This is it. There's no more rehearsals. This is it. I didn't even know why that it hit me when it did. I remember walking into the dressing room. I can hear. I always listen to the vibe in the dressing room, whether it's quiet, whether it's too quiet. But it was calm, and I took that as a really good sign. Players were like they'd been there before half a dozen times. I had such confidence in them. They had such confidence in themselves. And I wasn't thinking, this could be what's going to happen in this game. I was thinking, we're going to do our country proud here. I had every confidence in the lads. And then when we got onto the pitch for the national anthem, that was a special moment. That was a real. I couldn't get the words out of my mouth to describe that feeling, because obviously I had a lot of friends and family there. Half of bloody Wales were there on that day in Bordeaux. And the national anthem was, if you ever heard a national anthem sung on foreign grounds, you've never heard it like that. It was something else. And amazing, amazing feeling. And you know what, you're ready then. You're ready to face the world. You're ready to take on the world. Doesn't matter. It wouldn't matter who we were playing. Slovakia were a strong team. Of course they were. That's why they're there. But it wouldn't have mattered. We were ready to take on anybody, and at all costs, because it's such a feeling of togetherness and pride. It was, nobody will ever be able to take that away from us. And as a nation, that day was a special, special day. Yeah.
Yeah, I can remember standing on I was fortunate enough as the media officer that I was in the tournament, sat on the bench for the matches. I can remember just before that kickoff, I saw my first game in 1969, and here at the finals like this, the red wall to the left, the noise, and thinking, wow, we're on this stage, and something you'd never expected and been hoping for, and the emotion and everything going, all sorts of things. And I'm just thinking, in that first few minutes, and Ben Davies cleared off the line, etc., etc. Had you said to the players, it's important you play the game, not the emotion of the event, concentrate? Was there that, or was that in the back of your mind, that the emotion and everything could become too much because of the nature of it? Or was that something you were confident wouldn't happen?
Well, we discussed that, of course. We discussed with, our preparation was first class, and we discussed all that. We had discussed all that, and everything we talked about, we'd forgotten to do. And once that happened, and it was just Ben Davies saves it off the line, our fans celebrated like we'd scored, and then voila, we settled straight into the game. Then we took the game to Slovakia. It was like I'd liken it to a boxer catching his opponent, and then getting a bit confident and cocky, thinking he's going to get on top, and then his opponent comes back swinging, and then he's stunned. And that's what happened to Slovakia. Happened to Belgium in the quarterfinal. We came straight back at them, and then we were dominating Slovakia. We scored, could have scored a couple more. We looked really good, and the whole atmosphere was just absolutely incredible. It really was. And of course, they got the equaliser. They were on top second half. But now it's just like another game now. It's an international game, and that's the way it is. It's slow, slow, slow. All of a sudden, from nowhere, the tempo is picked up into an incredible speed. It's frantic, and those are the moments. Those are the 5 or 10 seconds. As an international player, you've got to get your head down and be able to handle that. Stay calm and handle it. Because most of the international games are quite calm, and you can see things coming before they happen. But the players are such good quality, they can ask you a question from nowhere, and you've got to have the answer. And that's international football. And that's what happened in that game, like any other international game. They scored second half, they were on top, and we're thinking, can we get a point? Because they're on top of us. And we looked a bit leggy. So then we changed. We put Joe Ledley on, just to sit in midfield because of his experience. And we thought for 20 minutes he can handle that, Joe. And and then Hal Robson-Kanu, and Hal liked playing. Hal had been playing left wing most of his career, but I thought he'd be better off in the centre for us with his pace and power and his self-belief. And of course, Joe finds Rambo with that lovely pass. The best player you want in that situation is Rambo. He just goes on a little bit of a maze. He pulls it into Hal's path, who scuffs it into the back of the net, and then there's pandemonium again. Everybody's going absolutely crazy. The red wall had just lost it, and we've gone from hanging on for a 1-1 to now we've got to hang on to win the game, which we did. Once the whistle went, we got the points. Yeah, it was unbelievable. The atmosphere in the stadium was absolutely incredible. It really was, and it was a game we deserved to win. Remember the expressions on the players' faces after the game was priceless. They just got their first game, the first tournament game under their belt. Confidence was flying. They got the 3 points, and and we never really looked back after that.
Yeah, I can remember after that, because usually sometimes after a game, asking players to do media stuff and whatever in interviews, and you have to wait. And I can remember just saying, we need some media stuff. And before I knew it, 7 of the lads were outside ready to do it. And broadcasters weren't ready, you know. It's usually the other way around. But within a couple of hours, though, you know, you changed, you got back, we were on the plane, we were back in Dinar 2 or 3 hours away. At that time, because you changed eventually, you decided to stay when we got to Paris and what have you, and Toulouse, I think. But how important was that, you think, after that first game, just to sort of, right, fantastic euphoria, but let's just get away from it. And within no time at all, you were back in Dinar in, you know, that relatively calm surrounding.
Yeah, it was important. It was important as well to savour it a little bit because it was such a big deal. And so we'd done that, but then to get back to Dinar where it was calm, because we only had days before we were playing the next game. And it was very much, we'd always do a debrief of every game and where could we have been better, where were we very good, and how can we connect that to what's happening in the next game. So we always did that, and of course it was England next, and the England game was unlike any other game because obviously Wales and England, you know, is always going to be a different game. But we tried to just get the players to come down from that high, from the Slovakia game, and just to focus on the next game, and take the next game for what it is. It's the second of 3 opportunities for us to acquire enough points to progress in the tournament. And as much as we tried to do that, a lot of it was taken away, and there's nothing we could do because it was Wales v England. Everybody wants to beat England because of what's written in the media about England. And we got a little bit caught up with that. But, you know, you watch Rambo being interviewed, or Balo or Ash. They didn't. They were having a laugh. They were joking, and they were ready for it. There wasn't a problem for them. Yeah. And of course, we lose the game 2-1 in the last kick of the game, which was a huge blow. We didn't necessarily play that well on the day. We wanted to fight more than play. We could play a lot better. And if we had played the way we can play, that result wouldn't have been 2-1. Not to England, I didn't think anyway. But we never showed that. That may have been my fault as well, because I wanted to stand up. You know, they're the big boys down the road, England. I wanted us to stand up to that. So maybe it was too much fighting, not enough play. And maybe I've got to take responsibility for that. I don't know. But we were disappointed with our performance. Of course, we were gutted we didn't get the result. We were disappointed because we knew we were better than what we showed in that game. But again, we went back to Dinar. The lads went for a walk along the beach, had an ice cream. We put it aside. We all went. We had a few of the local. Went in a local cafe there. We had some all together.
Yeah, you went for a meal, get away from it.
Yeah, and it was done. It was and then it was Russia. We got to get this one right, and that's what we looked at.
I remember before the England game when the draw was made, and obviously you'd said we talk about Slovakia, don't talk about England until after Slovakia because we've got to take. And you didn't want to be in a position where the England game became the be all and end all, that beat England but lost the other 2 and came home. You said out of 3 games. But I remember in that build that Balo and Rambo, and as you say, they knew what they were doing and enjoying it. And Balo was saying, that Wales had more passion than England, and that none of the England players would get in the Wales team. And Rambo said the same. And you can see it was done in, just the lightheartedness, just playing, keeping it cool. But it got some people going. But onto that game against Russia, where you basically, deep down we felt, God, we've got a great chance to get it through here. I look back on that, and I think, considering the pressure going into it, not with you, but what was coming from the outside, that Wales needed to win or needed a good result, and Russia, the history that Russia have. Wow, in Toulouse, what a performance that night.
Yeah, it was my favorite. It was my favourite performance. The Russia performance was.
Is that the whole of the Euros? That's your favourite performance? Yeah.
My favourite. Everybody thinks it's going to be the Belgium one.
Yeah.
No. The Russian game, I thought that was my favourite performance for many different reasons. Because the pressure was on, we had to get it right. We needed at least a point. There's more pressure on us going in because we needed a point. If we needed to actually win it, then that's all we focus on. But sometimes you get diluted down a little bit in terms of what you're actually going for. You're going for this or you're going for that. because if we won, we knew we were through, and a point would have taken us through. So then you can get sucked into a little bit more of a defensive approach, which can make you a bit nervous. But we decided to go into the game. I addressed the players before the game and said, "You've got to make your mind up. We make our mind up now how the game goes. We go out and we express ourselves, and we go for these because we're faster, we're quicker, we're in better form, and if we perform, we'll win the game. So we've got to go and win the game. Let's go and attack, and let's show everybody what we can do." And like the last game we just had, where we showed people that, yeah, we can fight and defend, but we've got so much more about us than that. So decide now, before you go onto the pitch, what you want to do. And that's what will happen for us. And, you know, you could see it in their eyes. It was, again, no disrespect to Russia, it could have been anybody. When those boys were in that mood, it didn't matter who we were playing against. So we showed it time again. And we were just in that mood, ready. And the biggest surprised face on the night was Neil Taylor when he scored. You remember? Taylor was in another, you know, he didn't have a clue that he just scored, and he's like, "Oh my God, I've just scored." That was the only surprised face. But I wasn't surprised. I was a little bit surprised at the level of our performance. It was beyond anything we'd done, really, because it was a complete. We defended brilliant against Belgium and got some great results. We played brilliant out in Israel and played them off the park. This Russia game, because it was so much riding on it, and to perform like that with freedom and so much spirit and togetherness, and it was in sync. Everybody was in sync. It was just a complete performance for me, and that was my favorite performance.
I remember in the press conference after, and whether it was the players or yourself, we always used to discuss what might come up in a press conference. And Ian Mitchell, of course, who was a psychologist, who was very much part of that. But I can remember we hadn't prepared for this. Someone asked you a question, and it's something that stuck with me from the Euros in terms of one of those, wow, where did he get that from? When you said, we might be a small country, but tonight we were a continent. And I'm thinking, wow, where's that come from? But, you know, things like that stand out. You know, that was obviously, I mean,
because IG, we'd always been looked upon as Wales, small country. We've never done anything. You know, people have laughed at us, and you know, we're Welshmen, and they make fun of our accent, or you know, we're just a tiny little country. But and I'm sure everybody feels like that. You know, we know how passionate we are about our country, and that's what it felt like on the night. You know, I said if you were judging us on passion, we were a continent tonight, and I was true. It was absolutely right. The scale of the country and the you know, how many people we got? 3 million, and it's not the biggest in terms of the size, but the passion, and that's what I meant. And it was that's why I absolutely felt that, and I'm sure everybody felt that. I may have said the words, but everybody felt that. It was amazing. It was an amazing time to all be involved in something like that.
I think by now as well, I'm sure, you know, something I know you've always appreciated, but the players, everyone started to understand what this was meaning to people back home in Wales, and the support we were getting out in France was absolutely incredible every game, wasn't it? You know, and you had that sense of this momentum now gathering was quite incredible. The bonding between players, management, and the fans was quite incredible, wasn't it?
You've got, for something special to happen, for a special achievement to be achieved, you've got to go above the ordinary, and you've got to put yourself out there beyond it and do something different that you've never done. And when you try to go and get that, you know, you can get it wrong, and when it goes horribly wrong, then we know what can happen, and you know, we'd experienced that. But all of the nation reacted to us because of the performances. It was no one-offs. This has been going on now for some time. And the players are doing all this. They're doing all the pats on the back. They're doing all that wow factor that was surrounding the team, because it was performance after performance. And the whole Welsh nation got caught up with it. And that's what they've been screaming for so long. And we delivered it. And then there's no better feeling, because we'd experienced the nation being really upset with us and disappointed with us. And, you know, we earned that also. But then we earned this. We earned that feeling where you just feel like unbeatable. And for the whole of the nation to be so proud of the team was a special feeling, yeah.
After the games against England and Slovakia, we'd flown straight back to Dinant. You made the conscious decision after Toulouse that we would stay there the night, and the following morning, the players' families and friends could join with them for the barbecue and food and what have you. Was that to sort of, right, you know, they've been together now 3 weeks, a month, just to break things up, give that fresh impetus going into the next group stage, or the next stage?
Yeah, because even in the qualifying games, you know, the players after the game would go upstairs and the families would all be there together. There was a really good feeling there. And we wanted everybody to sample that in the tournament. You know, we'd been away from our families for so long. And it was a great feeling, you know, the day after the Russia game. We know we're still in the tournament. It was on the back of a wow performance. So the atmosphere was absolutely tremendous with the players and all the families, you know, friends, and all the players' children were there, and the staff, all our staff's children and families. Amazing. You know, those feelings as well when you sat around, and this is such an incredible vibe coming off everybody. And when you're in the middle of all that, it's well, you know, IG, you were there. You saw it like I did, and you felt it because your family was there, Beth was there, and it's just an amazing feeling. And you can't. I've said it so many times. You just want to put your hand on pause and just stay there, you know. But you can't, because it's dangerous. But it's amazing feeling.
And then it was to the next game against Northern Ireland, and now the level of expectation maybe was, after that performance against Russia, you know, follow that really. And I suppose it's fair to say, suddenly we were going into a game where we were favourites. Did you notice a change? Did you have to change as a manager in the way you approached that with the players and dealing with the media in terms of, you know, what was your, did you change anything in the way you were working then?
I'm uncomfortable going into that game because we've gone from underdogs to favourites, and I knew Northern Ireland would be such a tough game because, you know, Michael had them very organised. They were very strong, played really brilliant counter-attacking football. And I knew that they'd try to suck us in and hit us on the counter-attack. I was praying for rain because I wanted the pitch to be fast. And I hoped the grass was short so it'd be quick, the speed of the game. And we got neither. You know, it was very hot and dry. Grass was a bit long. The ball speed was slow. Their game plan was working. We looked at times a little bit stop-start because we couldn't get into the flow of it. So half-time team talk was very important to say, keep calm, don't worry, keep calm. But this was inevitable. And it's the first one to crack. Is it us or is it them? So if it's 0-0 going into the last 5 minutes, stay calm. If it's got to go to extra time, stay calm. Keep trying to pass. We always try to catch teams on the other side, suck them in one side in it and catch them on the other side. We were still trying to do that with Northern Ireland, but it was difficult because they had always 9 or 10 behind the ball and hit us on the counter. So anytime they got a set play, it was very nervous because that was a good chance for them. Then we get a free kick. Baylor hits a good free kick. Their keeper makes a good save, and you think, oh, maybe that was the chance. Maybe this is going to go to extra time. And then again, Baylor finds it on the left-hand side. It's a cross that is just the sweetest cross. And if their boy don't put it in the back of the net, our boy puts it in the back of the net because Hal was waiting. Well, once we got the goal, I thought, of course, it was going to be scary moments because there was still, 15 or 20 minutes left, whatever it was. But I was quite confident then. They're going to throw a few balls into the box. They brought the keeper up from a corner. But our record defending set plays against everybody was absolutely first class. And I thought, once we got that goal, you never know, but I was confident. But I just wanted to get through that 1-0. We didn't play great, but it didn't matter. It was 1-0. 1-0 was enough to get us through. But the whole atmosphere on the day was different. Our fans were a little bit more subdued because they knew if we win the game, we go to the quarterfinal. And if we lose it, you know, it's a banana skin for us. We've missed a huge opportunity. We were the fancy team, albeit Northern Ireland would give anybody a good game. So I was just happy to get through that game. And I remember saying it to Michael after the game, Michael O'Neill. I said, "Your game plan worked," and I wasn't working. And it was just one of those things. We got the goal. But it was, I felt sorry for Michael because, you know, I knew what he would have been going through. But for us, it was just good to get through it. And then we go back to the hotel again with our families. And now we're sitting 3 or 4 days away from a quarterfinal of a European tournament. And that was, again, it was another surreal moment for us.
Yeah, I remember the families, and it was becoming a regular occurrence now, wasn't it? After matches, meeting up with family and friends. Yeah, and suddenly, you know, we'd overcome, as you said, a potential banana skin. And then the focus, because England got knocked out by Iceland. And we had to deal with that because we had to filming out the players. So enjoying the occasion, and we had to explain that one away. But fair play to Neil Taylor and Chris Gunter. I remember Gunter saying about his brother getting married in Mexico, and that Neil Taylor had tickets for a Beyonce concert in the Liberty Stadium, and that took the pressure off all the questions about that. But then we're playing Belgium again, aren't we? Who, you know, have become a team that we were so familiar with, and they were seen as the favourites by many people. We were going to virtually their backyard when we were playing, just, you know, within the French border, etc. It's like a home game for them. Yeah. You know, and then, you know, again, I suppose did you again have to change again, or, you know, by now you're in the quarterfinals of the European Championship? You don't need to explain anything to players, do you?
We knew Belgium knew us, and I think I've said before, the Belgian public were very confident. I think when they got Wales in the quarterfinal, but you ask any of the Belgian players, they wouldn't have been thinking the same way, because they'd faced us 4 times previously, only beaten us once, lost, and drawn twice. So they knew what we were all about. We knew what they were all about. And they were the number 1 team in the world at that particular time, and so they're the favourites. But again, there was no fear on us. No, there was no fear from us. It wasn't, we've come this far, doesn't matter what happens. It was, we've come this far, right? Now let's make sure we nail this one, because we can. And, you know, we're not coming off patting each other on the back saying, but haven't we done well to get there? It was none of that. It was business. It was do or die. We're not coming off the pitch with anything other than a win. Doesn't matter how we do it. So the tactical element of the game, you know, we were 3-4-3, except we changed the centre of the midfield with Rambo, Joe Allen and Joe Ledley as a 3 as much as we could defensively. Balo just off them, and then up top Hal. So it was more of like a diamond in the midfield when we had the 3 centre halves and the 2 wing backs, because we were trying to protect those little spaces in front of our wide centre backs where Hazard comes inside a lot. And it worked a treat. And then when we had the ball, it was back into the box formation with Rambo and Balo pushing on, Joe Allen, Joe Ledley. And those 4 players ran the game. As soon as Belgium scored, our midfield ran the game after that. And Belgium had no answers. And they'd made a change half-time tactically to try to stop us. At 1-1, they were trying to stop us. And yeah, they had their moments second half. They're going to get their moments against anybody or any formation. But overall, it was, like I said earlier, it was typical. They came on strong first 20 minutes, scored, you know, and it was like, well, it's a formality now. And it was the opposite that was on our mind, because we just, straight away, we took the game to them. We were keeping possession. They kept shouting like at each other, shouting at their bench, what's going on? They couldn't figure out our movement in midfield. And they couldn't figure it out. The rotation with Balo and Joe Allen and Rambo and Joe Ledley, they couldn't figure that out. And when they did, it was too late. We were 3-1 up. The game was done. And it was one of those, again, it was another wow moment, you know. I'll never forget when of course, Hal's goal is just incredible. He showed the courage he showed to do what he did was unbelievable, because he's got two options, and two great options where we can get a shot off. He had other ideas, and the courage he showed to do it, and the technical ability down, you know, and he's got 2 or 3 seconds, and then he gets a shot goal. It was amazing. And then, of course, the win, it wasn't a win, it was the third goal, but you know, the famous when Chris goes across it and I say what I say on the touchline. And Sam Bush's header was, that's what I would describe as a John Charles header. You know, it was past Courtois before he moved. It was boom, goal, and it was party. It was party time. And I can see now the Welsh fans behind that goal in the corner. I've never seen fans react like that to anything. They just charge forward down the stadium, 3-1, and it's pandemonium, and it was an incredible moment for Welsh football.
I mean, there's loads of images from the fan zones back home in Wales, all over Wales, and schools and everything, all clubs and everyone reacting. There's a couple of stories I just want to bring around about the Belgium game. Remember Bale saying in the week, he was asked by a Belgian journalist, you know, what motivates you to play for Wales? He had a dragon on the shirt, which stuck. But one thing I want to ask you about, do you remember, I mean, when we arrived in Bordeaux, the police escort we had when it looked like, if you imagine the M4 or M25 chock-a-block, the police just kicking people out of the way on their motorbikes. Remember the car journey to the press conference the night before? You, me, Ashley, and Ian Mitchell. And Ashley sat in the front with a cup of coffee, and he didn't say anything because we were going 90 miles an hour through what looked like a roadblock. This guy was just driving, and when we got to the press conference, we all got out and we said, right, let's take 2 minutes here. We've got to look composed because we look like scared rabbits at the moment because we had such a shock. We had to look composed going into the press conference. That was so frightening. I mean, frightening things that I've done.
I remember the journey. Ash was, I think Ash needed a couple of Valium after that, didn't he? Just he was a bag of nerves, wasn't he, Ash?
Oh.
Yeah, I remember that press conference. Yeah, I do remember that. I remember all of them, but that sticks in the head.
I think as well, I just remember the bus journey back from the ground to the hotel, where I think 25 minutes, and Chris Gunter sang "Don't Take Me Home" the whole way, and there was this sort of I don't know. You feel wow, semi-finals of the Euros, but at the back of your mind, how concerned were you with the fact that Rambo and Ben Davies were not going to be playing in the semis, that they were suspended?
Yeah, I was aware of it as soon as they both got booked. Of course, I'm concentrating on the game and trying to get that result and get the job done. But I can't deny that I wasn't thinking, if we do it, you know, two players that, you know, they're so important, great players, and in the way we like to play in that formation, 2 key players, and so that was a big blow. And I remember traveling back when we'd done it, and Ben and Rambo were celebrating with everybody else, but I remember looking at 2 of them at one stage where I think they were thinking about, we're going to miss the semi-final, and I felt very sorry for them, you know, because they didn't do as much as anybody. So it was a big blow for them. Psychologically for us, it was a blow because they're 2 very, very important players, and especially in that formation. In any formation, they're 2 important players. So yeah, it was a tough one because in a first to be in a semi-final. The very least you want to be at the strongest. You know, if the players have an off day, it can happen. But to give us our best chance, we needed to be at our strongest. And without Ben and Rambo, then we're not at our strongest. As simple as that. But every confidence in the players who are going to come in, and you know, because they've done great jobs for us. The lads who didn't play every game but came in. You know, for 20 minutes, or if somebody was suspended, or you know, the rest of the lads done superbly well, because we would never have got where we got just with 11 players. You know, it was a lot more than that. It had to be. It always is anyway. Nevertheless, you know, 2 important players, and it was a bitter one for us.
Because it is. I mean, Andy King came in and he just won the Premier League with Leicester, hadn't he? You know, so, and James Collins as well. So we had 2 very experienced players. Do you think, you know, what on the night was the difference? Ronaldo, I think that was what it boiled down
Yeah,
to on the
no,
night.
that was it was a difference. The difference wasn't Andy King or Ginge. You know, like I said, the lads who come in always do a great job for us. A great job. King never ever let us down on or off the pitch. Great lad, great pro, never let us down. Ginge, you know we're going to get from Ginge. You know, all the games Ginge wasn't playing, his voice in the dressing room was so important. You know, he's very much along the lines of Joe Ledley, where it's his character and his personality. And we know about his, you know, his ability. He's played Premier League football all his career, 50 caps for his country. He's a very good centre back. So it wasn't that. The only problem on the night we had was one particular thing that Ronaldo can do, and that's from a cross. He can jump above any defender, and he's brilliant at heading goals. And we talked about it in training, and it wasn't much. The only other thing we could have done is foul him, and then it's a penalty. And I think the first goal, James Chesser's jumping with him. I think it's Chesney that's jumping with him. He's defending well. There's not a defender on the planet that can defend against that type of explosion from a standing jump. When you've got that power and prowess, there's the only thing that was going to catch us out on the night, and that's the ball that they delivered it to the man that was never going to miss from there, and that's what caught us out, you know. I think the second goal was a consequence of we were a little bit tired. It was like a punch in the stomach when we conceded. And so we were a little bit down on ourselves. Well, we didn't need to be, because, you know, we were still in the game. And then after 2-0, we did look a bit tired and jaded. And there was a few long-range shots from Bailo. We huffed and puffed a little bit in the penalty area, but we just ran out the steam in the end. And, you know, fair play to Portugal, you know, because they played counter-attack against us, Portugal. They got men behind the ball. They let us have it for much of the first half. And that's a big feather in our cap, you know, to get to a semi-final, and a team like Portugal does that. It's because they were wary of us. And there was none of our players that I was disappointed with. I really wasn't. The effort that they put in was just, there was nothing more left to squeeze out of them. And had we gone out in the first 3 games, and I could say that, look, we couldn't squeeze any more out of the players, I still would have been happy with them, as long as they gave everything they had. And they really did. There was nothing. There's nothing else they could have done. Nothing more. Couldn't have tried any harder. They couldn't have concentrated any harder. They couldn't have given any more than what they had. It just wasn't enough. You know, at the end of the day, and then there's no shame in that.
At the final whistle, obviously out of the tournament, I remember the players went over to the far side, as you always used to do. But you've, just for that 5 minutes straight after, you went straight by yourself to the dressing room before coming back out. Did you need that 5 minutes just to sort of reflect, and a massive blow, obviously? What was going through your mind then?
Well, I could feel tears coming, if I'm honest, and I didn't want to be full of tears in front of everybody else. So I just walked into the dressing room, and I walked into my room, my coach's room, and just had 5 minutes. I remember I wished my father could have seen it, but my dad had died 2 or 3 years earlier, who'd been with me all through my career. And I was a bit upset that he hadn't seen any of it. And I remember thinking that, and I remember thinking, I was so proud of the players. I was so proud of the Welsh people for the way they conducted themselves and supported their country. So proud of the players for what they give to the whole situation, and all the staff who were absolutely brilliant. If you're a manager, or if you're seen as the leader, and you're trying to get the best out of everybody, and everybody's giving everything they got, it's an amazing feeling, that, you know. And I remember that hit me all at once, and with that came a few tears, and I didn't want to do that on the pitch. So I just went, composed myself for 5 minutes in my room, and then came back out, and I was okay. You know, that was it. It was the end of it. I thanked all the players on the pitch and the supporters, and you know, that was it. It was all over, and really, really sad, gutted that we couldn't go another step. Because I know it sounds, people will say, what, you know, what's he talking about? What was he looking at? But I thought, I thought we could do it. I thought we could, you know, I thought we could win the tournament. That's what I believed. And I wasn't that wrong. I wasn't that, and I wasn't me saying that because we were in the semi-final. It was, you know, when we got there, and I was thinking, I knew how good we could be, and we needed a bit of luck. And I thought, we can be anything in this tournament. You know, we could surprise a lot of people here. And, you know, I just imagined us being at the tournament for a long time, for whatever reason. So I just thought we could actually go on and do it, you know, and I wasn't that far wrong.
I think when we got back to Dinard, every time we arrived back, the support on the street and in the hotel had grown and grown. And I think we said when we'd gone there, we'd like to end up to be everybody's favourite second team in France. And I think when we went to the semi-final, people were saying, look, we'd even support you against France in the final if you get there. When we got back, the reception was fantastic. I just remember, though, obviously we were aware of what was happening back in Wales and that people wanted to give recognition to the players, but we could never come up to you and say, look, this is the plan if we lose to Northern Ireland or if we lose to Belgium, because obviously we wanted it to be all positivity. But then after the game against Portugal, I can remember saying, look, this is the plan, and that meant going back to Dinard and staying a night in Dinard, and a lot of the lads just wanted to go straight back to Cardiff because they'd been away for so long, wanted to go back, be with family. We had to persuade them to stay, and I know they had a great night in Dinard, that sense of togetherness. But I don't think anybody was expecting or prepared for the reception we got when as a squad and yourself, when we arrived back in Cardiff in Wales that Friday, where I don't think that blew everybody away, didn't it, really?
It was a great feeling because, you know, there's always been there. If you're Welsh, or where are you from? You're from Swansea, you're from Cardiff, you're from Wrexham, you're from Newport, you're from Aberystwyth, you're from Carmarthen, you're from wherever, or you're from the north, you're from the south. I mean, you play for Wales. It doesn't matter you're Welsh. That's it. It doesn't matter where you're from, no matter what colour your local team is or your club team is. When you're playing for Wales, you're Welsh, and you're all together. And anybody who thinks differently to that don't deserve to be supporting Wales. Don't deserve to be a part of Wales. And those moments, I remember, you know, even back in the before the tournament, playing away to Cyprus, I'd always imagined playing for Wales and seeing like a sea of red jerseys, like you see Holland or Germany or Brazil. And then we had it, you know, especially we played Cyprus. Behind one goal, it was just red. There was nothing. There was no white. There was no blue. There was no black. There was no red. There was red. It was full of red. Amazing feeling. Just one big heartbeat, and that's what it was. And we got back to Cardiff. We never expect any of that. Traveling back from the airport, from Barry, everybody was out on the. I thought, oh, bloody hell, what this is? We never expected that. You know, we had no idea really what was going on while we were in Dinard. We knew we were winning and doing well. We had no idea what was happening in Wales, and the support and the love and that we'd earned of all the Welsh public. And when we got to Cardiff on the bus, we come out of the castle, and it was literally, oh my God, this is where's this come from? And traveling around on the bus was, surreal feeling. Walking into the stadium where it was full, and the noise was just, wow, you know. I mean, I got home that night. I remember sat in a chair, and I was completely exhausted. I was gutted because we weren't in the final. I was still in shock of what we just experienced in Cardiff, and there was so many different emotions going around. And it was just, God, it was just unbelievable. It took, you know, some time before take a deep breath and actually reflect on everything with a normal way of thinking and looking at it. Because when you're in the middle of it, it's just, you know, it is like a whirlwind. And then when you do look back on it, you just know that, one, A, you're the luckiest person to be involved in something like that, to witness that. And B, it doesn't matter what you achieve going forward, you can't better that. You can't better anything like that. You can still achieve and do great things. You can't better that feeling because it was all right. It was all for the right reasons. It was honest. And it was just everybody
giving everything they got, being a part of it on and off the pitch. The whole country came together for us. We didn't let them down. And when you get that, that's one big heartbeat. And there's no feeling like that. You're never ever gonna better that. You just got to be thankful that you experienced it and you was a part of it.
When you watched the final, what did you think?
I was watching the final thinking, watching France and how they were playing and matching them up against us and thinking we'd be getting in that space. We'd get Balo in there, or Rambo, or Joe. The Joes would be cutting those passes out in front of those centre-backs. And, we'd be releasing Gunts on the right or Tails. And that's what was going through my head. And remembering as the game was going on, thinking, Portugal are going to nick this. They're going to nick this, Portugal. And it's probably what we would have done. That sounds really big-headed, whatever. And that's what I believe. I believe going into that game, we had good enough players, big enough personalities, enough belief to be in the final, handle it. And as it went on, and France are not running away with it, I believe that's what would have happened. So it was a tough final to watch for me, that.
And just finally, obviously now we're 4 years on, we will be going into another tournament next year. It's still, the impact. Remember, I think it was a couple of years after we went over to Ashendale. It was a year after, to commemorate the start of the Ashendale offensive in Belgium. You were reading where we were at Langemark, where we'd been in 2014. The night before, we stayed in Lille, of course, where we played Belgium, and we were walking around looking for a restaurant, and so many people coming up to you, the Wales manager. And then when we did that, and when you did the reading, and there was loads of school kids there from France and Belgium, and everybody wanted to come and speak to you, and it just showed, wow, what an impact the squad, yourself, everybody made on that tournament. That a year later, people were still coming up and talking about it, and that was in France and in Lille as well. It was quite incredible, wasn't it?
It was, yeah. It was, we were proud of that, I think, because they remembered us. And it's what you said earlier. It wasn't just remembered us because we won. It's because how everybody conducted themselves, behaved and represented Wales, and we did it to the best as we could. And so it was proud when people come up and talk to you, because they remembered us from the way we behaved, and it was a good feeling. That.
Yeah, and just finally, 4 years on, how do you feel? Still get pangs of? Do you still think a lot about it?
Yes, of course I do. I was watching Giggsy qualify, and I was jealous as hell. Don't worry about that. I thought I could have been standing there doing it again, but no. Look, I made a decision, and I don't regret that. It was. I just felt it was a time for a change for me and for Wales, really. And it was great watching the boys do it again. It was amazing, and that was important that we did it quickly again. And we'll do it again now in another 2 or 4 years or whatever, because we know we can do it, and we'll be regular with it, I think, now. I hope. And I'm looking forward to this tournament. I'll probably end up doing a bit of TV work for it. And I'm really looking forward to it. And there's no reason why we can't have another tournament. Sure of that.
It's been a pleasure talking to you, Chris. And again, all I can say, professionally, best period, and in many ways personally, for so many people in Wales, that was one fantastic journey, one fantastic moment which people will talk about for years to come. And thank you for sharing your thoughts with us today.
Well, pleasure, IG. It was some of my best moments professionally as well, and personally. Met some of the best people in my life in that period, and those friendships will last forever. But no problems at all. You did great, mate. I love working with you, the top man, and we'll speak soon.
Yeah, well, as you've always said, irrespective of football, the press conferences were always the highlight.
Away with you.
And speak soon.
See you, mate.
Thanks, mate. Thanks.